Good morning. Welcome back to the washroom, the basement, Hughes family basement, where we have our board here and our assignment 325. I wasn't sure what to call classwork, homework, versus an assignment. An assignment is something that I think I'd like to see you complete and turn in. And notice I label it by the date 3/25. So after thinking about that, classwork, that's something I'd like you to do pretty much right then and there. And that's whether that's viewing a video or maybe even doing a problem or two. There's an answer key posted for assignment 325. And as I went through the answer key, I saw it was a pretty aggressive assignment. So for the first one, probably could have broken it up into two phases. But let's do this. Let's see if we can handle it, and maybe we'll have a few extra problems tonight just to finish up Law of Signs in Chapter 8. Now, problem number 6, right on our paper, problem 6, we had a triangle looking something. I believe they called it ABC. Hold on while I get these glasses going. There they are. ABC. Okay. And they give us some information. I believe they tell us this angle here is 70 degrees. This angle here is 62. Right? Now, whenever you know 2 out of the 3 angles in a triangle, we've been saying this so many times, but let's say it again. The 3 add up to 180, so it never hurts to just fill an angle in, right? So there's our 3 angles in one triangle. The problem goes something to that effect. Your triangle ABC may not look like that exactly because they put it in words. But then they did say that this side is 7.3 long, right? Now, they ask us to find this side length over here, AB. So there it is. There's our setup. How long is that side? Well, we're going to use the law of signs to solve for that. And what you're going to have to do is set up a proportion. You could look at yesterday's video again. But the proportions go like this. Find an angle and that you know about, an angle measure, and a side length that's across from it that you're aware of. And that would be this relationship right here. So right there you have a ratio of the sine of a 70-degree angle over 7.3. Okay, equals. Now, what are we looking for in the problem? If you were looking for this side right here, I would write over here sine 48 over z. But we're looking for this side here. So if the sides always go down the bottom in our proportion, right, go in the denominator, what angle is across from that side? The 62-degree angle is across from it. So there's our proportion. So we're going to ask you to set up the proportion first, and now we're going to solve. Okay, so take a look at that. We're going to do a lot of problems like this, or enough problems where you have to set up a proportion, right? Fraction equaling a fraction. And the sine of the angle goes on top. The side that's across from that angle goes underneath, goes in the denominator. Sine of an angle goes in the numerator. Side that's across from the 62. Now that's the side we don't know. But we know 3 out of the 4 items. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is in your calculator, but we don't want to take it out. Leave it in as the sine of 70. But you have to think that in your calculator this is some kind of decimal number that we're not overly concerned about. Now, this is our first demo problem. So we cross multiply, right, everybody? We're going to cross multiply. When you cross multiply, you're going to have 7.3 times the sine of 62, right, equaling sine 70 times x. There's your equation after you cross multiply. I haven't done much other than to rewrite it as a cross multiplication. Now, you have a choice. You can multiply 7.3 times sine 62 and hit your enter button, and you'll see a decimal comes out. That's fine. Okay, decimal will come out of there. But you can always wait, because don't forget we're solving for x, and we're multiplying these two things over here. And in algebra, if you want to isolate that x, and it's a multiplication problem here, you have to divide by 70, sine 70, excuse me, so that you get this kind of action over there. And then you get the x by itself, which is exactly what you want. But as you know in algebra, if you divide this side by sine 70, you have to divide this side by sine 70. So this is a pretty impressive expression over here that you will not agonize over too much if you have one of these, okay? And here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to take 7.3 times sine 62, enter. Now, there's a number there, but I like hitting enter because depending on the calculator, I might have to put parentheses. Just do the numerator first. Now enter, and a number pops up that I'm not even going to look at. But what am I going to do? I'm going to divide by sine 70. Divide by sine 70, enter. And out comes a number that rounds to about 6.9. This side length is 6.9 over here. This x is 6.9. Okay? So there you have it. That's when you have an angle measure and a side across from it. And you're looking for a side, but you know the angle measure that's across from that. If they made this problem solve for y, you could do it essentially the same way. I'm not going to do it now because I think the next problem, but you could still start off by doing sine 70 over 7.3 equals. Now, if you wanted to solve for y is the side length, and they go in the denominator. What angle is across from y? 48. So what would go on top? Sine 48. So you would go ahead and solve this problem algebraically, right? Cross multiply, divide by sine 70, both sides by sine 70. So it is, you can see if you're thinking this far ahead, this times this, enter, divided by sine 70, and you've got your answer. And you have your answer already to this problem. That's when you are looking for a side length. You have two angles, and you're looking for a side length. Okay? You have two angles. Notice I filled in the third. Okay? That was problem number 6. Now let's go to problem 7. I'm going to clean house here, so I got a little more room. Okay? That's one type of problem where we were looking for a side length. Let's take it again. I'm going to post the entire answer key, attach the answer key, but I wanted to do two main types of problems, and 6 and 7 kind of do that for us. What I mean by a different type of problem, let's look at 7. So 7 has x, y, z, am I right? X, y, and z in problem number 7. What do they tell us in 7? They tell us that angle y is 80 degrees up here. I guess could have made the triangle a little bigger. 80 degrees. Across from y, the side length is 17. Across from z, the side length is 14. So that's what we've got. By the way, side note, I ordered, I downloaded some app that I could do on an iPad and a stylus that'll help me write on it. I am not as pleased with the quality as you get just by writing on my little 1.5 by 2.5 whiteboard in my basement. It just doesn't come as clear. I know the technology is supposed to be great, but anyway, just wanted to share that with you. I am looking into other ways of doing this, but it seems to keep coming back to this. Now, in this problem, they're asking us to find an angle. Angle Z, am I right? This problem number 7. So here's a triangle. Again, your triangle could look a little different than this, but it's got to be XYZ. XY has to be 14, XZ has to be 17, and angle Y has to be 80. But what's the big difference in this problem from problem 6? The big difference is we're looking for an angle measure in this problem. We only have one angle in the triangle, that 80 degrees smudged on top, but we're looking for angle Z in this problem. But we got two side lengths. So we're going to use the law of sines. Now what does, again, law of sines, we're thinking proportion. Numerator, denominator, numerator, denominator. What always will go up here in the law of sines? The sine of an angle. Now, notice this is the only angle we've got, so we have nowhere else to go. Sine of 80. And they set this problem up, fortunately enough, that we have the side length across from the 80, 17. Okay, we've got enough now. Now, what are we looking for? We're looking for angle Z. See? So we're looking for angle Z. So I'm going to put the sine of Z on top. And again, they set the problem up well enough. They gave us enough. They gave us the side that's across from Z, which is 14. Okay? So the problems before, we were looking for a side length. Here, we're looking for an angle measure. How is this different? Well, we're going to cross multiply, right? So I'm going to do 14 times sine 80, right? 14 times sine 80 equals 17 times sine of Z. This we don't know. This is what we're looking to solve for, the sine of Z. We're looking to solve for the sine of Z. So here comes the tricky part. Okay? So, right here, I'm going to write down sine Z equals. What do we have on this side? We're multiplying, right? And we remember from our algebra days, we're going to divide both sides by 17. Divide both sides by 7. You have to do that in algebra so that we get this action here. We get the sine of Z isolated. That's exactly what we want. We want the sine of Z isolated. Now, in your calculator, 14 times sine 80, enter. 14 times enter. Then this decimal is going to show up. Don't do anything with it. Leave it there. Then hit divide by 17. 14 times sine 80, divide by 17, and a number, when you look at that decimal, that's what comes up. 0.81. Now, 0.81 is not the angle measure. That is not the measure of angle Z. That is the sine of angle Z. Now, for about almost 2 weeks now, we've been trying to figure out, we're close, a week and a half, we've been able to figure out this angle measure by doing what in our calculator? We hit second sine 0.81, enter. Those are the calculator strokes. All right, second, that's going to kind of back out the angle measure out of your calculator. So I'm going to take that 0.81, right? Oh, excuse me. Second sine, right? 0.81, enter, and 54.09. So let's say that Z is 51.1 degrees. That's the answer to the question. So those are the two types of problems that you're going to encounter with law of sines. They're going to have to give you enough information, at least for now, to answer these questions, right? They're going to have to give you enough information to go with the law. And what is that information? They're going to give you the angle measure, 2 angle measures. By the way, if they give you 2 angle measures, you know they're always giving you 3, right? Because of the 3 angles adding up to 180. And they're going to give you an angle measure, enough angle measure, and ask you to find the side length. Or like problem number 7 here, they're going to ask you to find an angle measure, and that involves that extra step, right? The finding the angle measure involves this extra step right here, because you're set up to solve for the measure of z, right? But you set up the sine of z and go accordingly. And don't forget, when you get to this point, you got to do this to get yourself to what the measure of angle z is. Okay? That was my phone. I don't know if anybody heard that, but I do have an iPhone, contrary to popular belief that I'm still operating with my flip phone. I do have an iPhone, and that's what just rang, so I'm very proud that somebody's checking on me. Okay, so this is the video review. You'll see the rest of the answer key there, and we may just do a couple more problems to make me and some of you guys feel a little bit better about the law of sines. Okay, so good luck. I hope all is well. Hope everyone's well, you and your families. I think we're doing fine. I hope my videos are working out. As I said, I've tried a couple other mechanisms, not as effective. Not as effective as this little whiteboard that I had from several years ago from Staples. Okay? We'll talk. Keep up the good work, everybody.